20 secure phones to assist in staying anonymous, $5,000. Fighting legal cases across 5 countries, $1 million. Upkeep of servers in over 40 countries, $200,000. Donations lost due to banking blockade, $15 million. Added cost due to house arrest, $500,000. Watching the world change as a result of your work? Priceless. There are some people who don't like change. For everyone else, there's WikiLeaks.
Julian Assange and what he calls an extrajudicial and extra-constitutional financial blockade of donations by U.S. financial service companies that has stopped his whistleblowing website WikiLeaks from posting any more secret diplomatic cables or information till the monetary woes are sorted out. Good evening and welcome to a very special episode of Left, Right and Centre, where we debate whether it's a battle for free speech or whether it borders sedition. We'll also debate the Right to Information Act and whether it needs boundaries as well. I'm Amitabh Revi. We'll go to London and we have a strongly informed panel in our studios. You can tweet us and participate in this debate. Our Twitter handle is at NDTV #LRC. But first, these are the day's other top stories. Anti-corruption crusader Kiran Bedi's travel agent, who's a trustee of our NGO, has quit, saying his reputation has been tarnished. The trustee said Kiran Bedi's defense on overcharging her hosts has conveyed the wrong impression that he was responsible for inflated invoices. Arvind Kejriwal, though, has strongly hit out at the government.
सरकार जो अब कर रही है, रोज हम लोगों के ऊपर लांछन लगा रही है, रोज हम लोगों के ऊपर कीचड़ फेंक रही है, और फिर कहती है कि हम माहौल खराब कर रहे हैं. हमने कहाँ माहौल खराब किया?
Meanwhile, Law Minister Salman Khurshid has reacted to Anna Hazare hitting out at what he called a gang of 4 in the cabinet for targeting his team. Mr. Khurshid said he's never seen Anna Hazare using such harsh words. Senior BJP leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, Sushma Swaraj, met jailed ex-MPs of her party in Tihar in Delhi. She said that while whistleblowers in the cash for vote scam have been jailed, the people who benefited are running the government. Rural Development Minister Jairam Ramesh has written to the Uttar Pradesh government slamming it for the misuse of central funds. He's asked why there shouldn't be a CBI probe. In the letter, Mr. Ramesh said the National Level Monitoring Committee and State Level Monitoring Committee had found 22 to 30 cases of corruption which the Mayawati government had not taken action on. Good and bad news before Diwali. Home loans up yet again very soon, but RBI has banned banks from imposing a prepayment penalty. Also, you'll get more interest on your savings as well. Yes Bank has announced a 2% increase in savings. The bank rate now goes up to 6%. The top international story, former Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi and his son Mutassim have been buried in a secret location in a desert at dawn today with a few relatives and officials in attendance. The transitional government says it's because the grave should not be in fact ransacked, but many say it shouldn't be so that there's a memorial that comes out. And top story, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange spoke to NDTV from London, where he's under trial for extradition to Sweden on rape charges. He's under court restrictions and wears an electronic anklet so his location can be determined. He's announced that a financial blockade of donations by U.S. financial services, donations from normal people across the world, means that WikiLeaks can't release any more secrets till it sorts out its financial crisis.
If WikiLeaks is not successful in defeating the blockade, then yes, the forces of darkness, so to speak, will have won. Well, according to a 24-country poll of 18,000 people, WikiLeaks has the support of over 75% of the world's population. And in fact, one of the strongest supporters is the Indian population. But despite that, these US-based financial services companies, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Bank of America and Western Union, have continued. Since December last year, we have been surviving on cash reserves the last 11 months. But that's not a situation that can continue. If it does continue, then it is inevitable that sometime during next year, WikiLeaks will completely run out of money, and that will be the end of the organization. We are in the process of setting up a local Indian bank account, so our strong Indian support can be represented. Well, this movement that we have been a part of, in the Arab Spring, the movement in India for anti-corruption, the movement in Madrid that then spread into Wall Street, everything we do goes to the public, and the public chooses to support us with their wallets, and thousands and thousands of people have done so. The average donation to WikiLeaks is $25. The big battle was to get this information out for the past 12 months. We have been almost completely victorious in that big battle, but will that battle cost the institution itself?
The topic of our discussion: free speech or sedition? Freedom of information, is it a double-edged sword? You can tweet us, our Twitter handle at NDTV #LRC. Well, WikiLeaks are also saying that it's published the biggest leaks in journalistic history, and this, it says, has triggered aggressive retaliation from powerful groups. These are, according to WikiLeaks, the effect of that bank blockade and what it calls an arbitrary and unlawful financial blockade that has been imposed by Bank of America, Visa, MasterCard and PayPal and Western Union. WikiLeaks claims that it's destroyed 95% of its revenue, and the blockade came into force within 10 days of the launch of Cablegate. WikiLeaks says it's a part of a concerted US-based political attack. You can see how those donations have in fact fallen from January 2010 to absolutely almost nothing in August 11. Those are in volumes in terms of US dollars. Joining us from London via video phone is Christian Haftenson. He's a spokesperson of WikiLeaks. In our studios, K.C. Singh, who has been, of course, a former Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs. Also joining us is Jaidev Ranade, former Additional Secretary of the Cabinet Secretariat with the Research and Analysis Wing. Shekhar Singh, member of the NCPRI, the National Campaign for People's Right to Information, and Prashant Iyengar, media lawyer and Alternative Law Forum member. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope to have an extensive discussion on the subject. Coming to you, Mr. Haftenson, first. Now, 95%, you say, of your donations have been blocked, whether it's Visa, Merchant, MasterCard, financial companies that are blockading donations that are coming to you. But this is not judicially ordered. It's not legal, as it were. So are you saying that the US government is, in fact, pressurizing these organizations?
Of course they are pressurizing these financial companies to do that. We don't have the direct evidence of telephone conversation or written documents, but we know that politicians have pressured directly, and they've admitted to do so. Amazon.com, who severed ties with us and shut down our services. By doing that, it was admitted by those politicians that they were sending a clear message to all other companies to do the same. Despite the fact that WikiLeaks has not done anything illegal, it has not been charged with wrongdoing in any jurisdiction anywhere in the world, and this has happened. This has never happened before. You will not find a similar example of such a vigorous and violent attack on freedom of speech to try to shut down an organization that is simply fighting for freedom of information, freedom of expression, and freedom of the internet. So it has to be stopped by all means.
Freedom of expression, never been seen before, you say, Mr. Haftenson, but you're saying you have no proof of this. Julian Assange yesterday in London said it's no official US government financial blacklist. So then how really, in your logic, are they doing this?
They are simply taking a step, and this has never happened before, as far as I know. And there is no example of such an attack on an organization that has not been charged with anything in any jurisdiction. So this is a precedent that cannot stand without being challenged vigorously. What the company simply did, they severed services to us step by step over a matter of few days, and thereby wiping away at least 95% of our revenues.
95% of your revenues, serious trouble there. Mr. K. Singh, this is an extensive discussion, so I want to start with what he's raised here. If it's true that the US is putting political pressure on these companies, however, to stop donations from coming across the world to WikiLeaks, what's your take on that? Should that really happen? Or
well, if it's happening, you'll see a reaction, because as you know, there's a demonstration on Wall Street already, and there will be a reaction against these companies. And if this is happening by word of mouth, you'll find them retracting very quickly, because they don't want people boycotting them. They don't want a public reaction. And this may be now part 2 of WikiLeaks, where companies which are hand in glove with the US government, silently an arrangement has been arrived at, they'll find it very difficult to sustain it.
Sir Ranade, does the state have the right to do it when it thinks that it's being attacked in a way that would hamper its functioning?
I think in the case of WikiLeaks and these exposés, what has happened is that the WikiLeaks has literally taken on the US government. Most of the WikiLeaks, over 250,000 cables that have been unloaded, are diplomatic cables sent in by US missions all over the world to their headquarters. And now he's gone in for a full disclosure of the cables, as it were, without censoring the names or blacking out the names of the people who were the interlocutors. Now, in countries like China or others, it's criminal.
Life-threatening,
yes, it's a life-threatening thing. So I think what the US would be doing is leaning on these companies to apply pressure on WikiLeaks and prevent it from coming out with further information. So I think it is...
Well, that's what's happened now. They're saying they're not releasing any more material because they don't have money for that. They are now going to concentrate on increasing their financial...
Exactly, and I think the US will try and block them, at every step. But as Ambassador K.C. Singh said, that there could be a backlash, and I think the way WikiLeaks has gone out publicizing this could trigger public resentment at US government action.
Well, talking about publicizing, WikiLeaks has just tweeted live on NDTV the debate on freedom of speech. Shekhar Singh, just coming to you, does the state really have the right to do this?
Well, clearly what it's doing in the case of WikiLeaks seems to be far beyond what would be ordinarily an acceptable position. I mean, the state has a right in very exceptional circumstances to take such actions, but those circumstances have not been established in the case of WikiLeaks, nor has the legal process been followed. I mean, if they'd filed a case and, got a court order, etc., that's a different matter. But I think the essential point is that we have moved beyond the point where the state is that important. I think today we've seen across the world that if states going to do things which are not popular, even in non-democratic states, the people are going to take over. And I think this is going to happen in the US. You're quite right, and it's going to happen everywhere. It's happening in India, and why shouldn't it happen?
Before I go to Prashant, there's an interesting point you brought up. Casing, if I can bring in here. State may have to give up if it doesn't take popular decisions, but sometimes the state needs to take tough decisions which are not popular, which possibly benefit the larger society.
Now you're talking decision-making in the government or only concerning Julius Assange?
No, the larger picture.
Per se. You see, in any government, there would always be an area where decisions have to be taken and kept away from the public.
No, whether they're not, even if they're not popular.
No. Well, that's a political choice. But the question is, are they permanently secrets which you do not bring out into the open?
Correct.
Like in India, we don't have any rule or any law on declassification documents after 15 years or 20 years. We are still sitting on Henderson Brooks' report involving '62 war with China, which happened 50 years ago. Sure. In any other country, normally there is a date. You say that after 15 or 20 years, whatever was secret, you cancel out a few names and all, but it comes in the public domain. In fact, a lot about what happened in India's history from '47, we are learning from declassified documents abroad, not from India.
The point I was trying to make was, since he had raised that the state may be forced to take popular decisions if it wants to stay in power. What if the state needs to take decisions which are not popular? Will it stop the state from taking decisions which are not popular?
No, this is then the people would react. Each state has to decide how the reaction takes place. But what Shekhar is saying is absolutely...
What is popular is not necessarily always good. Well, so sometimes the state may need to take...
See, Teddy Roosevelt once said, President Roosevelt, at the beginning of the 20th century, he says, I don't present public opinion. I lead the public. So it's for a politician to decide either he shapes public opinion or he reacts to it. But hiding under the table and using third-degree methods to keep information away is neither available in a democracy, nor I think in any other system.
Prashant Iyer, now this whole question of pressure that's being put on to just stop any kind of leaks. What's your take on that? It's as everyone is pointing out, there's no legal basis to it. There's no constitutional basis as yet.
But it seems like a reflexive action, I mean, by governments which are threatened by information. And information is, in the last resort, sometimes the only resource that we've got. In India, for instance, with the right to information